Alright, hello everyone. I'm going to be doing a recap on my metals trade I took in Asia session last night. So let's start on our daily to get some framework here, right? So what we see here is pretty clear consolidation, right? So in the daily, we're in a very large range with these daily highs, right? We're inside barring ever since this 3rd of March, right? This 3rd of March is a huge expansion day. We've been consolidating ever since, right? What we do end up seeing here is we do get an SMT fill here. So this is sort of completing our idea for a universal model, right? An internal, maybe back external towards these lows, maybe the range, right? Manipulation of range high. We expect expansion back towards range low. But what we end up seeing here is we take out some of these failure swing lows, right? All these are like failure swings to like our real objective, which is this low. And after taking these lows, we trade away pretty aggressively, right? So we're creating gaps on, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. We're holding opposing candles. So we're showing that we're clearly switching bullish, right? So, when we take these lows and we see ISD right here, right? We're holding these opposing candles for higher. We're trusting gaps, right? These gaps are holding in expansion. Then we switch our charts over here to silver. Let's head on over to silver. What do we notice, right? It's sort of that same framework, right? If we go back to the daily, where we had that SMT fill with this candle, right? Or it was actually this day, right? So we had an SMT fill. If you look at this day's open, right? This day opens here, right? This is the 1800. So we did have that SMT. And then once we hit these lows, right? Same thing we were seeing on gold. We're hitting these lows and we're framing a reversal out of it, right? We're leaving these gaps. Inside these gaps, we're getting continuation sequences, right? We're getting SMT fills in these gaps and expansion away into highs. Now, what do you notice about these highs? What does silver specifically fail to do? Right? It fails to manipulate this high, right? This high right here, and later this high, right? So silver, if we look at PM yesterday, we have 9 a.m. trading into this high, creating a C2 closure. We do not see C3 expansion here, right? So this reversal right here is not holding, right? That's when we get that expansion back through that high, and that confirms this sort of the idea of failure to manipulate, right? It's when this reversal off this high fails, right? Because then we'll know we'll probably head towards our next draw, right? And we're still doing this all in PM, right? This is still PM session, right? This is 1500. This is in PM session. We're displacing through these highs, right? And leaving gaps to continue from. We're not reversing from these highs. We're not consolidating. We're not doing anything. We're just displacing through highs right now. So, coming into Asia that day, right? I want to see the day. If it's going to be bullish, right? I want to see it form in a bullish way, right? So I'd like to see an open low. I can refine a key level in this previous day's closure, right? So let's refine our key level, right? So we have EQ marked out of this previous day. So we want to find some sort of a key level above or around EQ of this previous day's range so that our next day, our C3 day, can expand into objectives, right? So we'll do this on gold as well. Since gold is the asset I took, I'll be doing my TA on that, right? So we have this reversal day on gold. It's a PSP as well, right? Now let's just look at our refined key level, right? So ideally, we're going to want a gap or a swing, right? That's going to be our key level. Always use gaps or swings as key levels. Not going to use, just random like 15-minute gaps. We do want it to be like a higher time frame gap, right? So let's mark out open this day, right? Here's 1800. What do you guys notice about? We're looking at this EQ here now, right? Look at this EQ. What do we notice about Asia, right? What does Asia do? Oh, Asia opens and instantly trades into this gap, right? Look at this gap. We instantly trade into this gap. We open low into this gap, right? What do we get in this gap, right? We get SMT with the silver triad, right? So silver. Here's 1800 on silver, right? It does not trade into the gap, right? So that's our SMT fill. But what do we notice about our phases of price after putting in that SMT? We get a little bit of expansion, but most of this is purely what? More of like a consolidation, right? We're not really expanding, not expanding away. Our gaps aren't holding. We're not creating propulsion blocks. So we know this SMT specifically is probably not going to hold, right? It's just, we're not displacing away. We're not making higher time frame gaps for continuation. So this SMT is probably not going to hold. So if we look at gold here, right? As gold trades into this gap, right? We see that clear reversal away. This gap does not end up holding. And what do we get with silver? So if we look at this 815 low, this is the low that traded into that hourly gap. We go on over to silver here. Look at this 815 low, right? The low that trades into the gap. We print a SMT with this low. And then what? And then what happens, right? So now we have our two-stage crack, right? In continuation. We don't need a two-stage, but we have one in this scenario, right? So we have a two-stage crack. What is our next step? We either want some form of swing point, you can wait on the C2 close. You're going to drop time frames, which is what I did here, right? So what we see is this V-shape recovery, right? We V-shape. What do we leave behind? Gaps. This is what we want to see. In true expansion, we're going to have these like really nice large gaps, right? So from there, what I do is I limit order this gap with my stop. Also, the timing is pretty important too. Look at this timing. When does this happen? At a new hourly open. So we have a new hourly candle aligned with expansion as well. So that was pretty important too. And then what do we target? This SMT break high, right? So this is the high that silver has already failed to manipulate. So we're just looking to break SMT here, right? I don't need my stop all the way at this low, do I? No, I can just cover these bodies, right? Anticipating this gap to hold as sort of like a refined key level. Now, I ended up TPing, not at this high right here, just because this is a failure swing. I TP'd at this high, right? And that was about 8 RR there, 8.8. I'm sure it's not perfect, right? My stop was on the body. It's just not exact, but it's about 8 R there on this trade. You see it delivers around like 9:15 in the morning. Yes, that was the gold trade. Very, very simple framework. I don't know if there was continuation opportunities. Not much, really.